Hello, 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 everybody. So welcome to my regular Monday live stream. And really happy you're here. If you're joining me for the topic tonight, which is, as you can see written across my banner here, is myth busting, portion control for weight loss. Now, much has been said about portion control. And there's all sorts of voices that will, say you've got to do portion control and portion control tips and portion control that. But I want to dive into this a little bit tonight because my philosophy as far as reaching your ideal weight, because that's what we're really talking about here, isn't it? We're talking about reaching your ideal weight, whatever that is for you, because it's all different for all of us. There's no uniform, like we all have to be a certain way or a certain weight, but you probably have a pretty good idea. Most of the women that I speak to have a pretty good idea of what, and a realistic idea actually, of what their ideal weight is. And obviously that ideal weight isn't going to be like what they, I'm 56 now. So, it's, the women I speak to are mainly in their 40s, 50s, 60s. It's not going to be the weight that I was when I was, finished high school or went to college. But most of us have a pretty sort of good idea of, yeah, that's what it is. That's the weight that I would like to be at, to feel energized and strong and healthy and beautiful and confident. So I just wanted to sort of clear that up here, because as a weight management specialist and as somebody who speaks a lot in this field, I want to be clear that it's not just kind of weight loss for weight loss sake that we're talking about here. It really is about being your healthiest, most beautiful, confident self that you can possibly be. So, I wanted to talk about portion control because I've had a lot of questions about it recently. So in my Facebook group Healthy Living and Weight Loss for Women Over 40, which many of you are in that group, and if you're not, you're obviously in my YouTube community, or wherever you happen to be. I've noticed that there are a lot of questions, and I've had a lot of emails and a lot of comments about, Sophie, can you speak about portion control? How much should we be eating and everything else? So that's why I just sort of have kept all those questions on hold, and I thought, no, I'm just going to get in and do one live where I'm really going to dig into this topic. Okay, so let me just grab the comments here. Oh, thank you. I don't know who that is, because sometimes your name just comes up. Some of you, I can see your actual name, but because I'm using a software called StreamYard, sometimes if you're on Facebook, you have to sort of put your name in or whatever. But you've been binge watching my videos, so that's lovely, and thank you very much for doing that. Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Maureen. You're so right. So Maureen said that, I'm larger framed and I tend to have a little more weight. And it's not just the weight either. It's not just the weight that we're talking about. The weight on the scale is one thing, but it is also your body mass index. It is your fat to muscle ratio. How much fat, as we get older, we tend to get less lean muscle mass and more fat, unfortunately. And even our lean muscle mass, or what was our lean muscle mass, gets striated with fat. And so that is the thing. When we get older, our body does dramatically change, particularly when you're in the tail end of perimenopause, and then you're going into menopause and postmenopause. Obviously, things change. Your hormones changes, everything slows down. Things that were much more efficient when you were younger, your digestion, your pathways of detoxification and whatnot, everything works better. So yes, there are all these different measurements that we're talking about. There is the inches off your waist. There is wanting to have less fat and more lean muscle mass. And all of these things are all in the service of you feeling really good, feeling beautiful, and feeling really healthy. And what we're really talking about is starting with feeling healthy, because when you're feeling healthy, then everything else sort of really pretty much falls into place. So as a coach and as a weight management specialist, my focus is always primarily, first and foremost, on disease prevention. There is no point doing anything. We're not talking about trying to fit into a skinny casket here, are we? We're talking about wanting to live long, healthy, happy lives as much as we possibly can, and really living our best lives. And as many of you know, and certainly those of you who work with me, hi Kathy, on a coaching capacity, know that for me, it is all about, and for you and those ladies that I'm working with, it is truly all about shifting our focus to what can we be. And yes, you can be the very best version of yourself ever, I believe, 50 and over. That is absolutely 100% my belief in every single respect in your life. But it doesn't just happen like that. It takes a lot of work. Some women need an enormous lot of help, and some women need coaching. But anyway, and if that's you, you can always reach out to me. So here's what I am going to do here. I am going to get into this portion control topic. Hi, Leslie. Portion control, it is not an effective strategy for weight management or for weight loss or weight management. It is not. It never has been, and it never will be. And for those of you who have tried to force yourself into portion control, either I've got to have these tiny little portions, or I've got to cut it in half, or I've got to do that, or I've got to count this or count that, there's a reason why it doesn't work long term. And the reason why it doesn't work is that our mind, our brains are not wired for portion control. So you are literally going against your natural biology by trying to control portions. Your natural biology, I was actually just talking about this with my coaching clients in my coaching program, but we have biology, our natural biology in our brain, our dopamine, serotonin, GABA, oxytocin, etc. We've been retrofitted, we've evolved to have this brain chemistry to want more, and to eat, to eat to satiety, but in some ways to even eat beyond satiety. And we do eat beyond satiety now, not because we can't handle our portion control, but because of the kinds of foods that we're eating, which are highly, highly addictive and are engineered to make you eat more. So to try to control your portion size is absolutely crazy, because you'll be able to force yourself maybe to do it for a certain amount of time. It'll be unpleasant, but all your brain chemistry is going, no, just eat to satiety. Eat more. You need to eat until you're full. Eating until you're full and eating to satiety is natural. That's what we should be doing. You have something, you have biology, which are the stretch receptors in your stomach, which need to be stretched. They need to be activated. There are receptors. And when these receptors, these stretch receptors are activated, it sends messages to your brain to shut off your appetite. Okay, I'm full now. I've had enough. There's a lot that can get in the way of that, but if all's working as it should, that is what happens. That's not going to happen if you're eating a tiny little amount of food. Yeah, thank you, Marie. It just doesn't satisfy. So the other thing about portion control is this, is if you think about it with portion control, and a lot of diets, it's just, well, first I'm going to say this actually, is that the first thing that I say to all my clients, and if you want to know more about my philosophy about weight management and how I help my clients to lose their unwanted pounds and stay there forever, enjoying their beautiful new body and self, then I really highly recommend you watch, if you haven't already, my free masterclass. And I'm just going to pop that in the I think I did that right now in the chat, right there. Yes, I think that worked. Yes, it did. That did work. So, so watch my masterclass. And if the link didn't come through for you, or you need the link, then just ask me and just say, Sophie, can I have the link to the masterclass? And I will pop it in so you can get that. But do watch that masterclass, because the first shift in that masterclass, and in the masterclass, I'm talking about the 5 shifts that my clients make. And the first shift is to ditch the diet mentality, to ditch the diet brain mentality. And the diet brain mentality is lots of things, isn't it? It's lots of, it's to do with kind of denial, and I can't have and I shouldn't have. But a very big piece of this diet mentality is counting and restricting calories and portion control, and weighing food even, but weighing, portion control, and counting calories. And all of that amounts to this kind of diet brain, this diet mentality that absolutely is the number one and first shift that I recommend to all my clients. Let's just get rid of that. It has no place anymore in our life, because that's really not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to nourish our bodies. We're trying to work with our beautiful natural biology. And we're also trying to work with, not against, our brain chemistry. Okay, so we do have our natural brain chemistry, and if you try to do things like say, I can't have this and I can't have that, and I've got to, control my portion size, it's going against, as I said before, what your drive is, your natural drive as a human being, which, as I've said before, is to eat to satiety and to find calories and to find high caloric foods, actually, that you need to eat and you need to store for times of famine. But the problem is, now we live in a time of great abundance, not in a time of famine. And that's where the whole thing comes unstuck. So another thing about portion control is, very often portion control sort of plays into this piece, this thinking that, well, I can have the foods that I really love and I crave. I can have my favorite foods, such as ice cream or pizza or chocolate or cheese, as long as I have this amount. So yes, you can have it, as some of the diets or some of the nutritionists say, you can absolutely have it, but you can only have this amount. You can have like half that amount. You can have a square of cheese, a postage stamp of cheese, or you can't have a whole liter of ice cream, but you can have a scoop of ice cream. So that plays into that kind of like, oh, great, I can still have all those foods that I want, those creamy, salty, fatty foods, but I can just have that tiny portion. Well, that does not work for 99% of people. It just does not work for 2 reasons. Number one reason, because those foods that we're talking about, the foods that we crave, our favorite foods, our cheat day foods, etc., are highly addictive for the most part. In fact, they always are. It's the foods that are very high in fat, primarily fat, super, super, super addictive. There are literally receptors in your tongue, your brain, all the brain chemistry that, it's for fat, it's for salt, it's for sugar. Okay, so super duper addictive. So if anybody says to you, well, you can just have a little bit, just have a little tiny bowl of ice cream, or a little scoop of this or a little scoop of that, as I said, Most people can't handle that, or they might be able to handle that sort of forcing themselves into this, to having these tiny portions for a very short amount of time. And then it's just a matter of time before that's just not going to work anymore. And you're going to be sort of back to your old ways and not be able to do that. So that's reason number one. And reason number two is that eating small portions of whatever food it is not going to, and particularly if it's a cheap food or a craving food or a, I shouldn't have food, a naughty but nice food, right? It's not going to nourish you. It's not going to satisfy you. That small portion of whatever it is, a little tiny handful of potato chips or a scoop of ice cream or a square of chocolate or whatever the small tiny portion is, it doesn't feed you, it doesn't satisfy you, it doesn't nourish you. So you're in a no-win game, basically. Again, you can only do that for a certain amount of time. Do you think we should be eating every so many hours? Does 2 meals a day make you store extra fat? No, I don't. And I think, Maureen, I think there's a lot of myth busting that I would probably do in another live stream about people thinking that they've got to eat very little and often and all the time to what am I trying to say? To kickstart their metabolism or to keep their metabolism going or stronger. And I think that that's a myth. Really, what this all boils down to, and to that point, Maureen, as well, but very much also to this point of portion size, is it's not, and remember this, everybody, it's so important. It's not really how much you eat, it's what you eat. I'm going to say that one more time because it is really important. It is not so much how much you eat. We're obsessed with how much we eat. Obviously, portion sizes have got ridiculously huge I was going to say in America, but it's really all over the world now, and they've got really unrealistic. You go to a restaurant now and you're served enough in one serving for 4 people. So yes, there is that. I think we definitely need to take that into account, and I'm not ignoring that. That's a very real thing. But that aside, what we really, really are talking about is it's not how much you eat, it's what you eat. What you eat is supremely important. And I cannot say it more stronger or clearer than that. Because what we're really talking about is needing to eat foods that have low caloric density. That's what we're talking about. Foods that have low caloric density and eating a lot of that food. So if you're eating foods that have low caloric density, then you can eat a very decent portion of food, and you should eat until you're full. You should eat until satiety of low caloric foods, because then it's a beautiful win-win situation. You don't have to restrict yourself. You don't have to go hungry. You shouldn't go hungry. You should never go hungry, but you don't have to restrict yourself. You don't have to go hungry. You don't have to get into this crazy diet brain of, I can't have this. I can only have this amount. I've got to half my portion. If I have this, I can have that whole mind nonsense that goes on. We want to be natural with this. We want to do what's natural. We want to go with our body's natural biology, which is to eat foods for the most part, that have a low caloric density, okay? And I'll just illustrate this in a moment. And to eat enough that your stretch receptors in your tummy are activated. And then that sends the signals to the brain that, okay, I'm satiated, I'm full, and I don't need to eat anymore. So, hello from the East Coast. So hopefully this is helping you, everybody. And as I said before, if you want help, ladies, anybody out there, if you are really struggling with your weight management and you sort of just can't quite figure out how to put all the pieces together and do it on your own, it isn't just the food. I'm just talking just in this particular live stream just about portion control. But, you know, I'm a mindset coach and I am also a weight management specialist, but I'm a nutritionist. But the mindset piece is the most important piece when it comes to not just being your ideal weight and feeling great and feeling beautiful, but really becoming the woman that you want to be. And that's really what I focus on when I work with women. So if you're feeling less than the woman that you want to be right now for many reasons, many different reasons, and weight might come into that as well, and health, then you're welcome to kind of reach out to me. But honestly, the best thing to do, and I'll pop this in here again, is to go and have a little look at my masterclass. And I'm just putting the link, and I'm making sure I'm putting it on YouTube and Facebook. Go watch my masterclass, and I'd rather you do that before you reach out to me, because that goes over all the different shifts that I really, that are my philosophy, that I take my clients through. It's like an overview, and it's a good idea that you can look at that and really see if it jives with you and if it really sort of sits well with you before you would reach out to me. So definitely go do that. Now, let's talk a little bit about low caloric foods. So the foods, obviously, we know the foods that are really high in calories are going to be the foods, primarily the fatty foods. So fat and oily foods, let's talk about first. So fat contains 9 calories per gram, and carbs, okay, and protein, but carbs, complex carbs, for all you carbophobes out there, contains 4 calories per gram. Okay, so you might have gathered just from me saying that I'm a huge complex carb fan. We need complex carbs. Our body, again, was designed to eat complex carbs. That's why if you ever try a diet that is low in carbs, carb-free or grain-free or whatever, the keto, paleo, blah, 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 all those are, it really is only a matter of time. You know, you might do that for a short amount of time. I call them Band-Aid diets, because you might get some initial weight loss, but you will never, ever, ever be able to sustain that. It's just not sustainable. And you won't feel good on it, because complex carbs provide, they are our body and our brain's preferred source of fuel. And so if you want to not only get healthy, find your ideal weight, maintain your ideal weight for the rest of your life, then you are probably going to have to fall in love with complex carbs. Again, if you've been carb phobic for your whole life, and that is a beautiful thing. And there's a certain way of doing it. And you have to know what the excuse me, what the healthy complex carbs are. But once I'm going to take a sip of my tea. But once you've got that down, as my beautiful clients do, I don't know if any of my beautiful clients are on tonight, there will be no looking back, because you will be so satiated, you will feel so good, you will feel so energized, you will feel so wonderful. So you have to get over that hump, because I know all the latest trendy diets have really sort of sold us a full bill of goods on that one. But back to this caloric density. So the fatty foods are going to be very, very high in calories. So that would obviously be your dairy products, your cheese, you know, your meat products and whatnot. But also, if you think of something like, let's just take something which is obviously hugely addictive, such as a potato chip or a tortilla chip. And that is the ultimate example of a food that is very, very high in calories. It's extremely addictive. The food industry knows that, because it's got oil in it. It's a very concentrated form of calories, it's high carb, refined carbs most of the time. So if you're talking about a baked good, a cookie, like a tiny sugar cookie or a chip or something like that. And so it's super, super addictive. It's got either the oil and the salt, or the oil and the sugar, or the oil and the sugar and salt, the trivecta, which makes it very addictive. So you're just going to want to eat more and more of it, which is why you can't open a packet of potato chips and have just 3. You're going to eat the whole bag, of course, super, super addictive. But then you eat the whole bag of potato, I was saying bag of potato chips, bag of potato chips, or burger, through the drive-through, and fries and all of that. And then you're hungry, right? You're literally hungry half an hour later or an hour later, because 2 reasons. One, you can eat like a bag of chips, and once you've munched it all down, it's not going to stretch the stretch receptors. It's not going to activate the stretch receptors in your stomach, right? Because it just didn't fill you up at all. And then the other reason is that all of those foods, all of those junk foods and processed foods and everything, they don't nourish you. So there's no nourishment. There are no nutrients. They are devoid of nutrients. So you're not feeding the cells of your body, the cells of your being. So you get up and walk away from that meal or the drive-through or whatever it is, and you are completely not satiated. You probably want more. You're going to be hungry an hour later. Your blood sugar is probably spiked, and then it's going to come right down again. So the whole thing is just a no-win situation. And on top of that, you've gone, well, I only ate that much. I had that much of a brownie, or I had 2 scoops of ice cream, or I had a little, all the portion control advocates. Well, you can have a little ramekin dish of nuts, or a little ramekin dish of chips, or whatever. Not a good idea. It's just not going to work for you for maintaining your ideal weight, for reaching your ideal weight. Hi, Helene. How are you, Helene? Are you feeling better? Let us know how you are. Yeah, I know. I think it's Chrysia or Chrysia, beautiful name. Of course we reach for those foods when we're hungry. Those high caloric foods and those foods that are calorically dense. We reach for them because they're very, very addictive, and, it works for our taste buds, and the food industry knows this, and it sort of plays into our taste buds. But then we want more and more and more, and it doesn't really satiate. It completely doesn't satiate us. Maybe for a few hot seconds, it fires off the dopamine and the serotonin, those brain chemicals. And of course, again, the food industry knows this. But then, one is never enough. You're going to want another one, or an hour later, you're going to want more. So, I want to just give you some tips, some sort of portion. If there were any portion control tips, the portion control tips is what I want to give you before I go this evening. This is Marie. Oh, I stopped eating potato chips and pretzels 2 years ago. Super addictive, right? Pretzels, that's such a good example. Is another really, really good example. Pretzels, tiny little pretzels with great chunks of salt on them. Those ones that have literally like kind of chunks, rocks of salt on them. And that's such a good example, Marie, of a food that is highly addictive. It's a concentrated, refined carb, tiny, right? And you could have something like that, right? And you eat one of them or 3 of them, and you're completely still hungry, still want more, did absolutely nothing for you, put not one single nutrient in your system. And just think, instead, you could have had a beautiful, I don't know what, like a grain bowl with beautiful colors and nutrients and everything, huge. Like you could have either had 3 portion control pretzels, or a big, beautiful, crunchy salad, or even a, open-faced sandwich, or any of the wonderful myriad of foods that, smoothie bowl or a smoothie or whatever, something that's just going to fill you up, and you're going to walk away after that, fill and eat and drink it to the, have a lot of it. So your stretch receptors are like, wow, I really couldn't have another sip of that, or I couldn't have another bite of that. I am full to the brim. I am really, really full. That's what your body was designed to do. I mean, I don't mean overstuffing yourself, but if you're not eating addictive foods, you're not going to overstuff yourself anyway. But so that you're satiated, and full, and you feel good. And all of the foods are there for a reason. They're all functional foods. They are there to prevent disease. They are there to give you energy. They are there to feed your cells of your body, your mitochondria. They are there to detox your body. They are all there to do what they should do, these beautiful foods. And yet, that's why it's sort of portion control to me is absolute insanity. And yet you still get voices out there going, well, you can have everything in moderation, or you can have a little, little thing, to your point, Marie, a little thing of pretzels every now and again, or a little bit of that, or a little bit of that. Number one, it really messes with your brain, because that's a whole nother subject, which I go into quite a lot with my clients, but it takes you into what we call the pleasure trap. And this really feeds into the fact that most of these foods are highly addictive, and why we comfort eat and binge eat and can't stop and overeat, because of, the way of why these foods are so addictive. But, that's why, portion control is not a useful thing. Now, there are many other, approaches to eating now, and diets and things like that. There's the intuitive eating, which is, I think, is a better approach, but I still don't think it really takes us where we need to go. And the intuitive eating is that we just eat mindfully and intuitively, and just stop when our body is, when we feel that our body is full. And while I think that that's fantastic, and I am all for mindfulness when it comes to and following your intuition, I think the missing piece of that is it's all very well to say, well, eat intuitively, but when we live in 2021, where we are surrounded by highly addictive foods, processed foods at every single turn, to expect anybody to eat intuitively, if your pantry and your fridge and your cupboards and your grocery stores and your grocery cart is filled with foods that are designed to have you to keep eating them, that's not really going to work either, is it? Let's be honest. So we don't want to make things painful and difficult for you. Again, what I keep on saying over and over again is, you can't outwit your body's natural biology and your evolutionary psychology, which is, we have the psychology and the brain chemicals and the body biology to have us survive, right? We have the survival gene. And so you can't outwit that. So rather than trying to go against it and force ourselves into these little portions and corners and try and have small portions of these addictive foods, ain't gonna work. And so really what you want to do is you want to find a way of, how do I love my body? How do I nourish my body? How do I work with my body? How do I work with my body's natural brain chemicals and turn those to my advantage rather than my disadvantage? This is too much to go into right here. And this truly is what I teach, in my program. And if this is something that you're really interested in getting a handle on and learning more about, and you're really struggling, then again, please do watch my free masterclass. It's the 5 shifts that I teach my clients. And that way you can, become more acquainted with what I do, my philosophy, my work, and then essentially even, find out how you can, reach out to me. But I want to finish today by talking about just giving you some very basic tips. So, okay. Yeah, exactly, Maureen. That's so true. That's so true. Oh, Helene. Oh, okay. Getting to a new treatment tomorrow. All right. So everybody, prayers for, there you go, Cindy. The pleasure trap is amazing. Absolutely. And we really, that's, we all the ladies who coach with me, we read, everybody reads The Pleasure Trap. It's a great book. Everybody, can we please say a big prayer for Helene? Helene is a beautiful member of our community. She is going through chemo. She had a bad reaction to the chemo that she just had. She's starting a new treatment tomorrow. So everybody, please send love and light and healing and recovery to Helene. Helene, we all see you being completely healthy, completely well, happy. That's what I'm holding in my vision for you, and sending so much love and light your way, my lovely, lovely girl. All right, so let's do some tips now, and then I'm going to say goodnight. So actually, I was going to say one of the things I have to do right now is feed my Sunshine, my Pomeranian, who some of you know, and she's Sunshine, and she's sitting right there at my feet right now. And I will say, Sunshine does have portion control. Sunshine is the only one who has portion control. So poor Sunshine. Anyway, Sunshine, actually, I've got to get Sunshine to show you so you all know what I'm talking about here. A lot of you have met Sunshine, but I'm going to grab that. Hello, my sweetheart. Oh, look. This is the girl who needs portion control, don't you, sweetheart? So Sunshine it's called a fun feeder. Does anyone know what a fun feeder is for your pet? So she has a fun, I'm really embarrassing her now, telling all your secrets, Sunshine. But she has a fun feeder because she eats so quickly, and that's going to be one of the tips. She eats so quickly that she would get violent hiccups, and then she would try and take Lucky, I have a chihuahua, and try and eat Lucky's food too. So we got her this fun feeder, and it looks like a plastic maze, and I have to put her food and dot it all around the maze, and it takes her a long time to eat it, doesn't it, Sunshine, to get the food in that little belly of yours. So Sunshine, she's about to have dinner. I'm about to do her food in her feeder. All right, so just had to show you the sunshine of my life. All right, ladies. Yes, I know I had so Sunshine. She does look like a little teddy bear, don't you, Sunshine? All right, so here are some tips. Okay, number one, a big glass of water, right? Try and drink a lovely, big, beautiful glass of water about 20 to 30 minutes before a meal. You can actually drink it 15 minutes before a meal, but when I say a big glass of water, like at least 8 ounces, it's an 8 ounce, and that's going to, fire up your digestive enzymes. It's going to fill you up. It's going to prime your stomach to eat the foods that you're about to put into it. So that is a tip that will hopefully really help you. The other thing is slow down to the point of Sunshine, and the sort of intuitive eating movement as well, or the mindful eating movement, is do slow down. We do tend to, gobble our food, and we do tend to eat really quickly. I know it sounds very obvious, but really slow down. Like, try and put your fork down between every single bite. Another tip, which is better than portion control, is try to refrain from eating in front of a screen, television, or your phone, because then you will go into unconscious eating, and then you will just eat. You will end up overeating. And, even if you're eating the kinds of foods that I have all the beautiful women eat in my coaching program, you can still it's very, 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 very hard to overeat in my program, just say. But yeah, don't eat in front of a screen. And it's just so sad, isn't it? Because I think our modern day life has conspired to put us all in such a difficult predicament, because not only processed foods, crazy portion sizes in restaurants and everything, dinner plates getting bigger and bigger, and then there's Netflix. Then there's Netflix, which calls to us, and it's like, oh, I'll just sit and eat in front of Netflix or our phone. So just be very, very careful with that. Most people do overeat in front of hundreds and hundreds of studies have been done on this, that people tend to eat way more than they normally would, almost double, when they're eating in front of a screen or a computer, any screen actually. And so drink a big glass of water, slow down, put your fork down between every mouthful, don't eat in front of the screen. And really the final thing is, love the foods that your body loves. So that just goes back full circle to what I was saying earlier, is it's not going to work for you. Unfortunately, the moderation piece isn't going to work. It's not, some of you might. There are those rare individuals that can go, oh, I can have a little, tiny bite of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and that's fine. And maintain my body to how I want it to be, my healthy body, or I can have wine and cheese and crackers and I'm absolutely fine with that. But most people can't. And I find that most people who come to me, and most women that I work with, really truly can't. Their body can't handle that. And as they get older, we as women get older, our bodies really certainly can't handle what we used to be able to handle even maybe 10 years ago. As we get older, things change and we have to change with that. But, the wake-up call for many of the women I work with is, let's just do a clean sweep. Let's get you on the healthiest diet on the planet, or not diet, I'm going to scratch that, the healthiest way of eating on the planet, the healthiest way of living. It is a lifestyle. And 90% of that lifestyle change is mindset. It isn't the mechanics, it is the mindset piece. And that's what I love. All right, ladies, that's all I've got for you tonight. So hopefully I busted that myth good and well about portion control. And as I say, the one caveat with that is, when you go to restaurants, just do, obviously, is, it's not, it's just use your common sense. If you're seeing, huge portions, I think most people do. You just simply cannot eat what they give you nowadays, why everybody, has all the doggy bags and everything, the takeaway. And I guess restaurants just, they're like, they charge more and then they've got to give you this enormous amount of food to sort of justify the cost of it. But, to be a little bit careful than that. I guess the biggest tip of all is home cook your food from scratch at home. If you can do that 90 to 100% of the time, you can control every single ingredient that goes into that food. And I mean every single ingredient. And that way you're going to be way, way better off. I know, I love sunshine. All right. Yes, drink plenty of water. I mean, obviously hydrate throughout the day, but it really particularly be very intentional about drinking, lovely 8-ounce a glass of water, room temperature water, maybe a squeeze of lemon in it, 15 to 20 minutes or so before you eat your meal, particularly your lunch and your dinner. So hopefully that helps. And I will see you all next week. We've got a live, I think I've got this wonderful meditation teacher called Amanda Gilbert. And she actually, she is the resident mindful meditation coach in my coaching program. So ladies who work with me have the pleasure of working with Amanda, which is lovely. But she's coming to talk to us next week, to my community at large, about her new book. She has a new book coming out, which is super exciting. So this time next week, I will be here with Amanda Gilbert. All right, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.